We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. If I figured this right, this is Wednesday. You have to understand I'm going out of town on Thursday, and I'm going to Los Angeles, and I don't know what kind of position I'll be in to uh, record a podcast. It's not like when I go to Savannah, so I am kind of trying to think ahead here and have some things ready because if I don't have a podcast up on one day, which rarely happens, people think I'm dead, and I don't want people to worry about me passing away. Um, and be, and we're talking to Will today, and we'll get to him in a moment. But Old Soul asked me to do a little promotion for her. She says, "Hey, Boomer, I'm heading back home, but I won't be able to do the podcast this week. Turnout is low in Nevada. We're doing a Woman's Wednesday this week. We're going to canvas in the day and hosting an event that night. Thanks. If you don't mind giving me a plug, if any of the Vegas listeners want to come, we'll be in Summerlin from 6 to 7:30, free food and music. It's going to be a good time. It's called Women's Wednesday. You can find it on mobilize.us online. We're keeping the address private, but they can sign up and come hang out. So if you're in Vegas and you want to meet Old Soul and you want to support the vote coming up November 5th, check it out. Go to mobilize.us, and sign up. Free food and music. I don't know about you. Well, I know about you, Will. If
hmm
there's free music and free food, I don't care where the fuck I have to go. I'm in.
It's Vegas. It's free food. And you
Free
don't have to
food.
play the game. You want to be at a slot machine? Yeah, I'm down.
And it's a
It's all
bunch of
good.
women. It's a bunch
No,
of women.
well,
I don't we wouldn't have to talk to dumbass men.
yeah, that's always a plus. Yeah, but
You
yeah.
before we went on, I was a little surprised. We're talking to Will. He's in Georgia, of course, and Will seemed a little. What's the word I'm looking for? Not perplexed. Uh,
Vexed. I'm
a
terribly
little
vexed.
a little vexed. So please tell us why you're vexed.
I'm vexed because, like, this has been for the Trump campaign. It was in a weekend from hell. We'll talk about the Arnold Palmer, the McDonald's thing. I mean, I've done videos on it, but Monday seems to be, especially the last few days, the polls from hell. Where the fuck are they telling me that this is a tied in all the battleground states?
Yeah.
Um, I was looking up early voting in Georgia is 1.3 million people have voted in Georgia early, but Georgia Public Broadcasting, the NPR reporter is going, yeah, but it's a lot of Republicans. But that's not what the demographic I've seen. I
No.
don't know. I'm vexed only because what I see and what they're saying, and even Brian Tyler Cohen, who's usually more optimistic, is saying, well, this is a tight race and it's tied. I'm going, really, Brian? Why are you believing polls? When do you start believing polls? And I'm like, I'm vexed because like we're starting to talk ourselves into this is going to be tighter than it's going to be. Because all I keep seeing is someone's going to get run over by a train,
Yeah.
and it ain't
Absolutely.
Democrats.
No. It's not. It's
And
not Kamala Harris. The thing we know for a fact is that there's a lot of upstart polls out there that are owned and operated by Republicans, and the intent is to offer some disinformation. And it doesn't really have anything to do with trying to change the outcome of the election. It's just trying to set the premise of an argument that the election was fixed. Oh, the polls said we were winning, and then all of a sudden we lost. It must be a rigged election. This is all manipulation, not only by polls but the media. The facts haven't changed. What's going on hasn't changed. Donald Trump continues to sink himself every fucking day. Don't
I
listen
mean,
to the
one thing
polls.
that,
Don't listen to the media. Just fucking vote and get ready to celebrate.
but NPR was usually pretty
Yeah, they're pretty solid.
solid. But the guy's like trying to look for excuses to say that Republicans are part of the early voting, like going about talking about, well, rural voters are growing and voting and there are less people, but it's a bigger percentage. Yeah, but I don't think, Southern Georgia County And if you got a percentage of 60, it's going to match Fulton, Newton, or where I live, where
No.
the majority of people in Georgia are going to be. And they've been lining up. I mean, Saturday was 200,000 early votes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
and
crazy.
he and the reporter dismissed the what did they do? Churches literally they after church they take people to vote because there's Sundays you can vote here in Georgia, and I forgot what they call it, but he dismissed it, and I'm like going because he didn't bring up what it is. It's primarily black churches
Yeah.
that do that, and for I'm reading this reporter, I'm going, how desperate are you to keep both sides? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me what
Well,
I'm
even
seeing,
even
I'm hearing.
even NPR and public radio like ratings, and they want this to be a big event. It's much like when Joe Biden was pushed into stepping aside. I'm not fully believing that they were cared whether Joe Biden stepped aside, but they knew if he did, it would be a big story and that would be a big payday for them. So there's a lot to be gained from making this a big deal. But as I say, the facts have not changed. Um, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You tell me the polls are even, yet Kamala Harris raised $1 billion in 80 days
Right.
and Donald Trump barely made a third of that.
And
How
he's
does
getting
that
all his
equate into
money
equal polls?
and he's getting all that money from a few billionaires.
Right.
I mean, I'm in Georgia. I mean, Georgia, I mean, you get the ads all the time and all the fucking same about the border, about uh, the mad immigrants killing your children everywhere. The economy sucks. I mean, it's all the same. And I'm going, and Donald Trump will fix it. Well, how? I don't know. We fix it. It's a. I watch those ads and I'm like, there's nothing there, dudes.
Yeah.
There's nothing there, but it's just fear mongering after fear mongering and feeding these people their daily dose of, I need to be scared of the brown people. It's to the point for me, it's tiresome because you're not giving us anything. I
Right.
mean, and even with Kamala Harris, I know we're at the point and she is working it. I mean, she is everywhere. She is working it. And part of it, I think she's forcing Donald Trump to work it. Because
Yeah,
I
that's
think he wanted to go away and disappear, but no,
th-
she's out there hardcore.
she she
She was good.
she's running him into the ground because he's 78 years old, not in the biggest health. And the fucking thing about it is you can say it's even, but every day Donald Trump does something fucking stupid and makes it worse for himself. So there's no way the polling is the same. Here's the thing you have to understand. This election is already set. Nothing's going to change. Many of the votes have started. Nothing you worry about, nothing you can do other than voting can really have an impact on things. This destiny has been set, and we
Mhm.
can see what's going to happen based on the facts. There's no reason to agonize over it as much as the media wants you to. Fuck them. Just ignore it. Vote and just wait and watch.
What I mean, it's like something stuck in your shoe and you can't get out of it. Can't get it out.
Right.
You haven't found a place, and it's just an aggravation because you know it's hard to imagine. It's hard for me to imagine how people can look at Donald Trump compared to Kamala Harris, and you take out color, you take out gender, and just listen to the words and tell me, who do you want running your country? Who do you want in charge? And it's still, I mean, I found out there's a lot of things going on, but I want to back up real quick. And I finally found my thought. One thing we have to remember is that the down ballot matters a lot.
Yeah.
And there was a creator, she's a big creator on TikTok, and she made a video about California and the lack of people um, um, filing to vote. And she's saying California's a big ballot. Yeah, I know. I lived in California. Man, we put proposals up there all the time. They're for everyone to vote on, not let the legislature run it. To me, that's always been a great democratic thing. Now it's a pain in the ass. Yes, it can be on a ballot, but you go through all it. And unlike other states, like here in Georgia, they send you a whole freaking pamphlet to
Yeah.
go through everything, and you spend time doing it. And this woman, though, I made a comment. She goes, "Why did I do it?" I go, I made her comment. He goes, "Because Californians care about democracy." And the lady sent me a comment, said that, well, only 32% voted in 2022. It doesn't sound like they care much about democracy. That pissed me off. And I'll tell you why it pissed me off. In the late 80s and early 90s, we had Pete Wilson as
Yeah.
governor,
Right.
Republican governor. They had something called Prop 187, which is basically Project 2025 before. It was designed to keep Hispanics and so-called immigrants away from public service. It
Right.
was an attack on the Hispanic community. At the same time, there was a lot of Vietnamese and Asian immigrants coming into areas in around the Los Angeles area and around California, and man, they were getting hammered because in a lot of these smaller towns like Monrovia, they were run by very old white city council. People were coming in putting up signs for restaurants and everything.
Right.
They literally passed a law saying that all signs in Monrovia have to be in English. It was and it was humiliating for the older folk. Everyone got angry. So what happened is 3 or 4 years later, their kids and we grew up and they voted and we fucking killed the Republican Party in California. You know why they can't get a footprint? Because I did it.
Yeah.
We and the rest of us fucked them out of California. They're begging for seats.
Right.
Why?
And that's what's
We
happening in
did
this
it.
country with the young people coming up.
Yeah.
That's exactly
And
what's
we
going to happen to the
and
Republicans.
And the ironic thing, all those little towns that I was talking about, the majority of their freaking city council became Asian.
Yeah.
It all changed. Why? Because people said, "Oh fuck no," and we stood up for democracy. And I said, "Ma'am, you just insulted me." Because we
Yeah.
do care. We stood up, and if we did what everyone needs to do this election in California, we killed the Republican Party. The only reason that Steve Garvey's up there because they got to put up someone. They
Yeah.
don't put anyone up any measure. You know why? He's still going to get his ass kicked by Adam Schiff. I don't care who it is.
Yeah, he's an
There
old white guy with a name, and he's gonna get slammed.
and
You know,
even
when
go
when
ahead.
you
I'm
talk
sorry.
when you talk about the voting in 2022, you have to take into consideration 2020 we had a record turnout, right?
Right,
2022 is a midterm. You're
right.
always going to get less votes in a midterm. I don't know where anybody thinks we're going to break records in the midterm because we never do. I think we're going to get we I think we got bigger than normal midterm votes then, and we'll get big midterm votes in 2026. But people really I've said this before. People wake up every morning and they go, "What the fuck can I worry about? I got to find something to worry about." And it gets tiring. That's why I'm so anxious to have this done because I know
Amen.
how it's going to end up. And when it ends up, I'm going to laugh at all the motherfuckers that told me Donald Trump will win. And I'm going to laugh at all the motherfuckers that will whining and crying, saying, I don't know, clutching their pearls. And fucking, I'm tired of it.
I know, but the one thing the one point she did make, and I think it's correct. Part of the problem with being in California as opposed to being in Georgia or Arizona, or Nevada, on the presidential scale, the electoral votes thing matters, and that's it. But
Yeah,
what gets lost in the mix, and what I said in my video was that those down ballots matter. Think
absolutely.
about this. Think about this. Not just the state offices, but the local offices, the city council, the board of education, your state and house, state houses and state senates. Democrats lost sight of that, and that's why you have this unbelievably draconian laws in a lot of these states where Republicans have super majorities, so they do what the fuck they want. They literally do what they want. Could you imagine if Florida turned not total blue? Well, no, say it turned totally blue and they flipped the House and the Senate, the state House and Senate. Could you imagine the living hell that Ron DeSantis would be part of? He couldn't do shit. They would poke him every inch of the way.
Yeah.
See, that's matters. And I mean, same thing here in Georgia. I don't see that happening. But if that happened, we would make Bryant make his life a living hell. That's the point. The things that you have to remember is that if you're in a state of like California, vote for Kamala Harris, but vote blue on everything. because the reason that they took the House is they got 3 or 4 seats they flipped in, traditionally Orange County areas. They're normally are Republican, but it's because of the turnout. So you see, I think the biggest thing they're finding out now is the turnout's getting bigger. There was an internal memo came out from the Republicans, was leaked. The
Right.
House side saying they're worried about these. They're worried about a seat in Omaha they never thought they would lose. They're worried about a lot of these seats they may lose. Why? Because the turnout's bigger. And when you have a turnout, it usually favors Democrats, not Republicans, which gave me back to when we started this conversation. What the fuck is that guy talking about in Georgia?
Right.
He's trying to dismiss that. No, it doesn't make sense. It's always been traditional. I mean, there was an article that said that people are voting early and Trump's happy. No, he's not happy. It's just another point. No, stop it. Just stop it. I mean,
Donald Trump will always tell you the opposite. If he's losing, he's going to tell you he's winning. I mean, this is something we've seen over and over again for 9 years. Why people still fall for it, I don't know. Why, when Republicans say the opposite of what's going on, people say, oh, I'm scared now because they said that. Well, we know they're pathological liars. We know everything they say is bullshit. Why do we then go to them and take them for at their word? It's fucking stupid.
there was a story that I did a video on that no one's really talked about in the mass media. It was almost like it was a quick blurb on MSNBC, and I caught it because it was a Time magazine article about Donald Trump and something called the Doomsday Book. The Doomsday Book. Do you remember that show Lone Designated Survivor with Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland?
Yeah.
Okay, the Congress. So what the Doomsday Book is in the safe, the National Security Officer can only get it. It is a contingency. It's called the Presidential Emergency Action Documents. And what it means is called PEDS. What it means is if there's a major disaster like the Congress blows up, a major war, nuclear war, a major thing that really pinches, the president can pull out these papers and he declares it an emergency, and those are the things he can go to do through executive action, bypassing a Congress, bypassing the law. He would have pretty much absolute power in the sense because of the emergency, i.e., think of the show. He was the one man left. He could do anything. There's a episode in that show where he had the Michigan governor arrested because he was using the National Guard to arrest Muslims, and he said, "No, I'm the power now. You're going to jail." He could do that because there was no Congress.
Right.
He was it. The point is, at the end of the Trump administration, he knew about him, but the security people around him tried to kept him away from it. They did not want him to read those papers because if he read it, they were afraid he was going to create something. Now, remember, we're in the middle of COVID at the time.
And he's buddies with Putin.
Yeah, and so the national security arm, and so he had other people to go around him trying to get around to get the paperwork, and the security people, and a lot of them are talking now, pushed against him to get him away from Trump. And Trump tried to do what they want to do in Project 2025 and fire all the civil servants and replace them with his flunkies. You know who the man in charge of that was? John McAtee. We
Right.
all know John McAtee on TikTok, right? The
He's a piece
asshole
of
with
shit.
food, a total piece of shit, ruins a good meal just watching him. He was hired to do that, but the chief of staff at the time, and I forgot which one it was because there's so many fucking ones, and he got into a battle with him and he got fired. But
Yeah.
that was his intention to start getting rid of those people so Trump can get a hold of the paperwork. So let's think about this for a second. Project 2025, which John McAtee is an author of, one of them, is the first thing they're going to design is to get rid of all the civil servants,
Right.
replace all the Trumpafucks. And the first thing to do is going to get a hold of that paperwork. And all he has to do is declare an emergency. Now, listen, we've been listening to his rhetoric, and it's like, we're under an invasion. They're coming to get us. There are already towns taken over by immigrants.
Right.
All he has to do is take those PEDS papers and declare that we have been invaded and take power. and there's nothing anyone can do with it short of literally becoming the real life reality of the Civil War,
Right.
a Civil War movie that just came out, because that's where they kept them away from stuff. And the next time he won't have any guardrails. That is fucking scary. And no one other than I saw that blurb, but it's a Time magazine article. Please read it. I read it and literally had to run to the bathroom. It scared the piss out of me. Because think about it, a man like that, all they have to do, he doesn't read, but if they tell him, Mr. President, this you can do this and this, we could do this, because he has a lot of evil motherfuckers who will do that. And
But
he will say yes.
let me ask you this though. You're not suggesting that you're any less confident about what's going to happen on November 5th, are you?
No, I'm not less confident. I just read that and again thought how, except for a few people who when working for Trump, thinking he was just another administration, that they literally thought of country over party and over their
Right.
loyalty loss. If they had not done that, I will guarantee you he would have done something with it.
Absolutely. Well, thankfully,
They,
there were some people with a relatively reasonable mind around him that knew that there would be a lot of trouble should that happen. Now, when we talk about this stuff, some people might accuse us of doing what the media is doing and telling us things to scare them, and that's not the case. The fact of the matter is, I believe, Will believes Donald Trump is going to get beat in a huge way on November 5th.
but it's a
Hopefully,
motivation too.
but hopefully it's a motivation for those
Yeah.
moderate Republicans that are on the fence. I still cannot believe anybody, and I'm not convinced. I think it's a lie. There are no undecided voters right now. There
No,
just can't be. You can't tell me Kamala hasn't told you enough. She's done more interviews than Donald Trump by triple. She's talked about everything she can talk about. She can't give you specifics until she's the president, but she's given you specifics enough, certainly more than Donald Trump.
I mean, and the thing about it, I tell that story is because it 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 should motivate those of us who are kind of those of us who are in with it. We're going to vote anyway. But a
Yeah.
lot of people, again, if and I preface that my video, if you think your vote does not count, this could happen, and I mean that sincerely. It almost happened, and we had the guardrails. But I'll tell you one thing: those guardrails have not really been replaced yet, and it should worry you and concern you, because they are going to, if they get a chance to do it, they will end us. They will end this country for
Well,
their
and
own benefit.
I think you make a good point. I think while Donald Trump was in office, we worried about a bunch of shit. We thought he was a fucking buffoon and all that stuff. But by what you're telling us now, we were much closer to imminent
Oh,
disaster than we even knew at that point. Thankfully, we didn't know
no.
what the potential was. But it is a good warning going forward. I still can't
And that was
imagine why
and
he
that
would
was
even
him in
come close.
2020.
Yeah.
Now, now we've got a cognitive man with less functioning brain cells who was insisting on his last, whatever that last town hall he had. There's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with you. Yeah, whatever, brother. Who is literally desperate too, because
What?
we all know if he loses this election, what's next? Because the bulwark, it pissed me off, and George Conway pissed me off because they talked about, well, they haven't done anything with the cases about the real cases like the documents or January 6th. They only did something about that one case up in New York. Doesn't matter. What do you mean doesn't matter? 34 fucking convictions for fraud, and he's still up to be sentenced for that.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's going to happen after the election because more than likely Judge Merchan is going to put his fucking ass in jail.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't fucking tell me that that conviction means nothing. I remember I saw that and go, lady, are you out of your fucking mind? That means something. He's a convicted felon by jurors in the state of New York.
You know,
That matters.
the thing about it is we've been in a war with Donald Trump and MAGA for 9 years, and hot and heavy in the last 2 years as he's running for reelection. I get this feeling, and I've said this: if the election turns out the way I'm suggesting, and you're suggesting, a lot of people are suggesting that Kamala wins in a big way, or even wins by a landslide. I'm telling you right now, for me, I am going to be so fucking angry at the media,
Oh, hell yeah.
at the media personalities, at the polls. Somebody needs to say, it's real easy to go, the media said this, the poll said this is how it ended up. We get focused on what's going forward, and we just let them off the hook. They keep saying, well, we're pretty accurate. No, motherfuckers, there hasn't been one that's accurate in fucking 10 years. So don't tell me you're accurate. They trust the fact that you'll just forget about it and get focused on more important things. I'm not. If I'm right, I'm going after the fucking media. I'm
Yeah.
going after the polls, and I'm going to expose every time I get a chance to say, these fuckers are fools. Do not watch them. Do not listen to them. And we've got proof as to why you shouldn't.
You made it your last video. I saw it before we got on about the enemy within, and you're
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
We have an enemy within.
He's
MAGA is
right.
the
He's
enemy
right. We
within,
do.
but it's not who he says. But here's the thing: we're talking, um, latching on to what you said about the media. This morning on Morning Joe Scarborough went off on the Wall Street Journal because their editorial, because he was talking about enemy within, using military. It's the Republicans that Sunday were trying to defend it, saying that no, that's not what he meant. And they
Yeah.
played the clip and they go, huh? No, that's what he meant. And it wasn't about immigrants. Oh, by the way, that's a bad fucking idea too.
Yeah.
But he meant about he specifically breaks it out to who his enemies are and what he wants to use to lock them up. But he said that the Wall Street Journal had an editorial dismissing that and going after Democrats, saying Democrats do that. This is a quote from the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal, that the idea of Biden and student loan forgiveness is an example of National Socialism. What the fuck?
Well, wouldn't an example of National Socialism be FEMA and the government handing money to hurricane torn areas,
You
red
see that
areas?
it was insane. And then, it took me a minute, and I took a deep breath and read, you know who owns the Wall Street Journal, right?
Well, yeah, Rupert
I
Murdoch.
mean, but that was just like, and that's where we're at. This fucking sane washing, and this fucking every side does it. No, we do not do it.
But we've
And the
talked
only,
about this before. They're
yeah,
panicking now. They see the writing on the
panic.
wall. So they're going to say and do anything. And that's what's happening.
But it's still, things still amaze me. Um, because we talked about Texas last time we spoke. I mean, there's still panic mode with Texas. There's a 1 point difference. And I always say to that, Ted Cruz, and he's still winning the election. Come on, guys. You're really fucked up. That man doesn't care about you. But the thing that really got me is that Josh Hawley, probably going to win a re-election in Missouri. Josh Hawley, who literally raised a hand in support of overturning the United States government and ran like a little scared woman. No, sorry, ladies. No, ran like a little scared dog when the beast he set loose was ready to eat his ass.
Yeah.
And he still may win. What, Missourians, show me state? What the fuck is wrong with you? That man has done nothing for you. Absolutely nothing.
For the
And
Missouri, for the Missourians that are going to vote for Josh Hawley, I got something to show you. Fuck you.
yeah, because it's like, it's insane. He replaced Claire McCaskill, who was a good senator,
Yeah.
because he ran on culture issues. And again, at that point, 2018, Democratic Party was in fucking tatters.
Yeah.
And Lucas Kuntz is good. He's an independent. Hell, he hasn't even endorsed Kamala Harris, but he's not Josh Hawley.
Right.
But but I can't answer for you people. I don't get you people. I don't.
Well, Josh Hawley is only winning and Ted Cruz is only winning if you believe the polls. And you know we don't believe the polls. A lot of this is a fucking game. A lot of this is disinformation. So we don't know until November 5th. I'm
Right.
not convinced Josh Hawley's going to even come close in the race. I'm not sure Ted Cruz isn't going to get beat by a lot. We don't know. First and foremost, we've got to get Kamala to win. We've got to get the down
Mm,
ballots down, get Ted Cruz out and Holly's out. And I'm convinced we're going to see uh, a big turning point in
right.
politics in this country on that day. I tell you what, Will, we're going to take a quick break
Right.
and we'll be right back. We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. I'm talking to Will on the show
Mhm.
today, this Wednesday. And Will, I just want to give a warning to the people who listen. Um, I'm going to be a very poor winner. I'm going to be a loud motherfucker when, if I'm right, and I feel confident that I am about what's going to happen on November 5th, I am going to be a poor winner. Like I said, I'm going after Trump-la-fucks and saying, what motherfuckers? And the people who have been whining and crying, I'm going, look at all the time you wasted whining and crying. And now you're happy, but look at all the time you wasted being anxious about this shit. It's just it's getting tiring. I'm getting worn out about
Right.
this turmoil and the drama and the trauma and the anxiety and all this shit. Let's get it fucking done and let's shut some people up.
I mean, the best stress I've had was watching the last Dodgers game when they won. I mean,
Yeah,
stress to the core. But
right.
see, that's good stress because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Um, I think, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on that worries people. There's a contact container, a small one from Kentucky, and she's saying there's something on the Kentucky ballot that is just out of Jim Crow. It's called it's Amendment One or whatever, which would basically make people make people confirm that they're not crazy. It would it would make people have to prove that the mentally ill could not vote, and they would determine that. That's right out of Jim Crow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and it's totally Jim Crow. And as she said, and I agree. Yeah, but that same crazy person could buy a weapon in Kentucky.
here's the problem with that though. The only crazy people that I know that would want to vote are fucking Trump-la-fucks.
Yeah,
So that would bite them in the ass.
but it's designed. I mean, the poll tax. You have to read something, prove you could read
Right.
before you can vote. This is old school bullshit.
Yeah.
Republicans are falling back on that. The biggest thing that everyone's fighting right now is suppression. Here in Georgia, I mean, they're fighting what happened, but they're not going to overturn that. Mark Elias has said all the um, all the lawsuits they keep trying to file are getting tossed back by judges with prejudice, saying, "Don't bring this shit back in my court,"
Yeah.
because they're filing it too late.
Right.
It's desperate. We know it's desperate. Again, let's just put it in perspective, y'all. The press likes to fuck our minds.
They do.
That's their job. Our job is to remind you that the press likes to fuck your minds. It's basically trying to tell someone, no, you don't want to go out with that guy. He ain't really looking good for you. Stop it. Um, but the reality is, if they were so confident, why do they keep trying to suppress the vote? If they're
Yeah.
so confident, why are they trying to stop mail-in votes from military members? If they're so confident, why is Donald Trump canceling an NRA rally in Georgia and tomorrow is going to be in Doral, Florida for a roundtable with Hispanics, which are all
Right.
going to be probably chosen and vetted to
Right.
ask them questions? There is a panic going on. The reason we bring up the stuff we do because you guys buy into the panic. The reason I tell you the story about the peas to remind you, if you buy into the panic and don't do what you're supposed to do, this could be worse.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing. We are vexed, we are confused only because we see the truth with our eyes. The trends I mean, why do you think people are North Carolina students are having a march to go vote? It
Right.
was something out of the civil rights movement. Do you think they're doing that for Donald Trump? No,
Certainly not.
no.
Well, let's
So that's
let's
the go
let's
ahead.
let's look at the facts here. Kamala Harris is campaigning all over the country. She's pulling in big crowds. She just did something with Liz Cheney in Wisconsin.
That was the bulwark thing. She
The
sat with the
Bulwark thing. She's
bulwark
doing a
editor.
lot of things. The only big promotional event Donald Trump has done as of late is fucking working at McDonald's in a complete setup, staged photo op.
Okay, I confession time. When I tried it first time I went to college, I failed, so I flunked out. My
Okay.
bad.
That goes in
I
your, that'll go in your permanent file on
always will
Rational
be on
Boomer
my permanent
podcast. Yeah.
file. But the best thing about that is that I got a job at McDonald's. I
Hmm.
needed a job, and the best thing about that job, it was run. The management was good. I mean, I was an older kid, so I can do what they wanted me to do. But there was, and I did my job. I mean, I worked hard.
Yeah.
I had, they had a regional manager there. Now, it was a franchise. They had several in the Antelope Valley. That's the northern LA County.
Right.
The name of the company is still probably around. REA Green owned these McDonald's in Palmdale, Lancaster, and Mojave. Um, I worked at a Palmdale one. They had a regional manager named Ken Mann. Now, the thing about remember Ken Mann, he was dedicated to his job. He was dedicated about doing it right. He was dedicated to basically showing us that if you do it right, it would benefit everyone and yourself. He taught me that to do it right, even if you're washing dishes,
Yeah.
if you do it right and you have the right sanitizer and you wash them properly, it's the right thing to do because that's how the job needs to be done.
Right.
Same thing. So and that job that that motherfucker did, I did. But I did that motherfucker during a rush, several rushes, trying to keep it up. Even one of the corporate um, cooks said he was doing it wrong because you don't have any idea what it is when you have to get things going, when it's going, and you have to keep the station clean. The salt has to be cleaned up. And then when you bring up, now I'm going old school back in the early 80s.
Right.
We didn't have a lot of the automation, which is good for them. But man, you had to bring up crates of fries, and we had a bottom walk-in freezer in a basement. You had to bring those fries up. Those things weighed 55 pounds a box.
Wow.
And you have to do that, and you have to keep the fries up and the salt. And you did that job, and you did it well, and you didn't wear a motherfucking apron. I didn't. And I don't even want to talk about doing turn lanes on grills. Point is, that's work. And you know what? I think about that, and I was proud of that work because I did it and I
Right.
could do it. It was something that was part of me. Did I get paid a lot? Fuck no. It was 1983. All right. But I was proud of it because I could say I did it. And also, with that man teaching me what I should do, I went from a crew member to first assistant manager in 2 months
Yeah. Well,
because I,
it set
because
the
I,
mindset for you for the
Mhm.
rest of your life and
And
helped you in
exactly
further
because I
careers.
always approached my jobs from that point like that. Always want to do it right, do it to the best I could. So they take that motherfucker because Kamala Harris, she works at McDonald's. I can show you can do it. No, it was all fake, as you know, all fake. There were no customers. And I watched them and going, dude, it's pathetic. And also, I watched them lay on the fries. There's too many small fries, motherfucker. They're going to get cold.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do it per order. You're supposed to listen and watch. You cannot have that many fries out. It doesn't work like that.
Well, the
You know what I
interesting
mean?
thing about Donald Trump is when Kamala came out and said that she worked at McDonald's when she was in college, I think what bothered him was that it made her relate to the middle class, and he can't relate to the middle class at all. This motherfucker's never had a real job in his life. So he says that he went to McDonald's, and McDonald's says they have no record of her working there. And McDonald's came out, yes, what, Monday, and said said, we don't keep records that far back on every part-time
And they're
employee that we have.
franchises.
Right, in their franchises. He said, but I will guarantee you this, nobody from the Trump campaign ever called us and asked us that question
No,
because we wouldn't have answered it. So once again, Donald Trump lies. And that's the fucking thing about it. With all the things going on that he has to worry about, the main focus in his mind, the thing that he thinks is going to give him a win is owning a libtard, owning Kamala Harris, proving that he can work in a McDonald's too. It's just a joke. It's
dude,
silly.
he's 70. He's 78 years old. I'm 62 with bad knees. I couldn't work at a McDonald's right now. I
No,
couldn't do it. I'll be honest. I know because I remember how hard it was when I did it as a 20-year-old. The point is, it's so fake, and people buy into this fake. I mean, the rest he's not. But turn around. He doesn't support minimum wage. He doesn't support overtime for people.
no.
He insulted um, people who, and I've done manufacturing jobs. He insulted us by saying, "Yeah, well, you don't really do anything. You just get it made for Germany." Another thing, another reason to shit talk America. We don't make our own parts. We just get the parts from everyone and we put it together like a fucking Lego toy. A
Right.
kid can do it. That was so insulting. Again, I do not get you people who vote for this man. He does not love this country. He hates this country. We are just nothing to him but another source of income, another part of his con. And I'm tired of this man's toxicity that has run through this country, and people buy into it as if it's American. It's not American.
It's
It's not
funny.
patriotic.
I pulled up to my condo the other day, my wife and I look up and there's this balcony there with an American flag. And my wife says, "Is that a Trump flag?" I go, "It can't be." And I look at it and I go, "Fuck, it is a Trump flag." And I was hoping the guy'd come out in a balcony so I could laugh at him, but he didn't. But next day, fucker's down. Some liberal old lady in this condo said, "Fuck you, you better take that shit down."
Was it the American flag with Trump on it?
No, it was American flag on the right and a Trump flag on the left part of the
Okay.
balcony. And you was the wind wasn't blowing, it was out of the wind, so you couldn't even really tell it was a Trump flag unless you really looked. But I hope I see that. It's motherfucking funny
Hmm.
is in that same building. I told the story before. I was out cooking stuff on the barbecue, and some guy walked up to me and said he listened to the Rational Boomer stuff, and so did his sisters, and he introduced himself. He lives in the same building with this
Cool.
motherfucker with the flag. That's I we're gonna start a little street fight going, and it should be entertaining.
I mean, I don't honestly. I don't care if you're gonna. I mean, you want to show your colors is fine. What bothers me is, and there are a lot of things that bother me about Donald Trump. But the one thing I'm gonna always to the day I die is think about January 6th.
Absolutely.
January 6th, I remember that day distinctly because my supervisor at the time, we were working at home. He was talking to me, and I was looking at the news on my phone. I'm going, "Holy fuck! They just invaded the Capitol." He goes, "What?" And I told him, "Yeah, the guys, Trump people are in the Capitol." And then it went from there. And then Trump at the University of Toronto said it was a peaceful day, that it was a mob. This
He
was,
still does.
yeah, he still does to this day. He talks about how it was government agents that did that, not his supporters. But the two things I will always remember, and I will hate him to this day, is those motherfuckers got to the top of the Capitol and took down the flag and put up a Trump flag.
Right.
That is a fucking invasion. And then the worst thing, even worse than that, and this guy went to jail for it. The motherfucker that brought the Confederate flag into the Capitol.
Yeah.
He did what Lee couldn't do, what they want the Confederates to do. He brought a Confederate flag into the Capitol.
On Donald
I will,
Trump's watch.
yeah, and I will never forgive you for that. And he should never be forgiven. And the only reason there was no reckoning for it because the Republican Party covered his ass.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing we have to remember.
Well, I think
From
he did, and that guy ended up in jail. He's in jail right
well,
now.
you know what? The soldiers went to jail,
Yeah.
but the leaders, the people in the suits, have not.
No,
and they're still out there and they're still covering for Trump. I mean, all of them are.
but after
Simple
the
as that.
election, it's likely we'll see them
We
brought to the
better
surface. Yeah, we
because
better.
that whole party betrayed America and American values. You walk the no one likes a sore loser.
Yeah,
Period. You can be upset for losing, but you take it like a man.
yeah.
Donald Trump never takes anything like a man because he's a toddler.
He's a
He's
pussy
an
ass bitch.
exactly. And the thing about it, pro politic Axios had an article this morning. 3 in 10 Republicans are just telling Donald Trump, just declare yourself a winner and then and do everything you can to win the election. They're
Not going to work.
41% of them want violence. Political are okay with political violence.
It's real easy to say I want violence, but in this day and age with Joe Biden, the president, you're not going to see any of these cowardly motherfuckers step up. They just
No,
aren't going to do it.
but also on the other part of it too, there's 12% of Democrats who want that. 18% of Democrats said Joe Biden said, fuck it, just keep the office, fuck it all, fuck democracy. The point I'm making is that Donald Trump has, and I'm not saying our country's perfect, we've had so many issues, but the one thing we always could depend, I remember when Bill Clinton became president and at inauguration day, and they had some report, someone was talking about the peaceful transition of power.
Right.
And this guy had been in Los Angeles, they have a international thing. I forgot the name of it, and they have speeches. This was the guy from, I think, in South America, and there was some kind of controversies and stuff, and people had, and he looked and he said to everyone, he goes, I don't get you Americans. He goes, why? Because you guys, if this had happened on my country, there'll be blood in the streets.
Yeah.
You guys used the transition of power and used the courts. Fast forward 30 years, we became his fucking country.
Yeah.
Why? Because of Donald fucking Trump.
Well,
Because
you can understand the Democrats' frustration. I mean, not most people
no,
don't
I
want to
get it.
resort to violence.
Mm.
I've often said that my concern of violence in the streets doesn't happen if Donald Trump loses. I think it's more likely if Donald Trump wins because Democrats are terrified at that prospect. They think their country's going to be taken away legitimately, that democracy is going to be overthrown, that their kids are going to suffer. You're going to see some crazy fucking Democrats out there with guns and fighting. And that's what I'm fearful most of.
I mean, if the impossible happens and you start doing what you said you're going to do, that will break into civil war. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's no way you're going to march people out of their homes without a fight.
The good news
Sorry,
is we'll
not
kick
going to
their
happen.
ass. We'll kick
Yeah.
their ass.
But the point is that he took that moment that I remember from decades ago, literally decades ago, and his own toxic personality, his need to be the one and only ruined democracy because people bought into it. An entire fucking political party bought into it. They say now democracy is not right, it doesn't work. What that is one reason, and going back to the original talking point we have here, that you have to vote blue down the entire ballot anywhere in this country
Right.
because the Republican Party must be removed from power, must be removed, period. Like I said before, you guys have to do what we did in California in the 90s. We have to end the Republican Party as a political entity because it's not the party that it was.
And
Liz Cheney could dream all she wants, but her party's dead.
we
She
can
doesn't get it.
we can ultimately end the party with the election on November 5th. But for all
Yes.
intents and purposes, the Republicans have already done that to themselves. We were talking about Donald Trump and going to McDonald's and all his promotional events to win the election on November 5th. He was in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, okay, hometown of Arnold Palmer,
Oh
and
my
he
God.
wanted to let people know
I
he
really didn't want to go there. I really didn't want to go
well,
there, Mike. I really.
I'm going
I
there for
mean,
a reason because I
I
saw a
know.
meme that I love. Um,
Okay.
but and I've talked about this before, where he starts talking about Arnold Palmer. God rest his soul, he's dead. And he started talking about um, the fact that Arnold Palmer was well endowed. What that has to do with anything, I don't fucking know, but it means something to Donald. Now, I will say this: uh, his daughter, who's still alive, came out and said, "You know what?
She
He
detested him.
he hated Donald Trump. He
He
thought he was a
hated
piece
his
of shit."
ass.
But I did all that to say this. I saw the best meme ever, and it was a cartoon of Arnold Palmer that said, "Donald, keep my junk out of your mouth."
Exactly. I mean, how surrealistic is that? First of all, that rally, literally dozens of people were at that rally.
Right.
I'm not being hyperbolic. Dozens of people were there on the outside rally. And in Atlanta at the same time, that place was packed.
Yeah.
It was loud. And right in the middle of his rally, before he got to the Arnold Palmer part, because I know there's some producer in Fox got a lot of shit for cutting to they cut to the Kamala Harris rally.
Yeah.
They cut out of him and they showed Fox viewers the Kamala Harris rally. Now I know the Fox producer who did it got a lot of shit, but I make sure if I was him, I'd roll the rest of that thing. So this is what he said afterwards. Okay, that's cool, because they didn't need that fire. They didn't need that
No.
shit.
No.
That's the thing. If Fox is going away from his rally to show a Kamala Harris rally, what is wow?
Well, the big problem with Donald Trump these days is he's always been an embarrassment, and people have been able to cover that up. But now he's so embarrassing so often, it's hard to cover it up. You can't let the tape run for more than 5 minutes before he says something stupid. And Fox is starting to feel the pain. And some of the voters that would normally vote for Donald Trump gone, oh, that's a little bit much. That's a little too far. And he won't back down. I mean, I'll give you an idea how he won't back down. He won't back down off of Springfield. He
Yeah,
won't
I know.
back down off of anything he's ever said. He wouldn't back down from the Central Park Five after they were
Ooh, I know.
completely exonerated, and he still won't back down. But good news,
Hmm.
those Central Park Five, they're suing his sorry fucking ass if he's
Yeah,
got any money left.
I mean, but that's just a point. One of them is now a councilman in New York. Yeah, it's. I think what amazes all of us is that this is that he came out. He got a chance for round two, and it's like it's like it's Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah,
I mean, everything is up, is down, down is up, and you kind of sit there and go, "What?" And people buy into it.
yeah.
It's a con that they won't let go, and it amazes me to listen to these people react to like comments I hear, people reaction to some stuff I've put out, and you look at them and going, "Really? How? Why? Why? How do you think like that? How do you think like that? I don't get it."
Well,
And I guess I never will.
when you see
That's
Mike Johnson being interviewed and there, and
ah,
Jake Tapper's asking about the insurrection and talking about the Arnold Palmer thing, and
yeah.
Mike Johnson just sitting there looking like a complete goon,
And
and
he
he can't answer anything. All he said was, "This is the telling thing." He said, "Yeah, but Donald Trump spoke for 2 hours in a packed building, which is a lie. And he didn't speak coherently for 2 hours. He said Joe Biden would never be able to do that. Well, you ain't running against Joe Biden. You're running against Kamala. And you know what? Kamala could do that and be cognizant and be clear and be pointed.
but
And no, she doesn't have to.
she doesn't want to. Why do you want to go for 2 hours? I mean, even Charlemagne, the gods made a comment. And he goes, and he's saying the same thing. She goes, "Yeah, it's my speech, but at least it's basically not Donald Trump." And she's
Yeah,
right. I
right.
mean, you go with the hits. I mean, I don't know what got into Jake Tapper. For all of a sudden, he decided to become a journalist. I
Yeah,
mean, because what he did to Mike Johnson, he did that to Glenn Youngkin before.
Right.
Glenn Sweater vested Youngkin, who basically fooled the entire state of Virginia that he was just a nice old Republican. It's just a fucking MAGA puke.
Right.
And he did the same thing to him. What was even worse for Youngkin was that he played that whole enemies clip, the whole thing out. And then he asked him about it. And then Youngkin just said, no, that's not what he said. He saw immigrants. And for once, Jake Tapper said, no, I just played you the clip. Why? And he kept, Youngkin was trying to twist himself into pretzel saying that, no, he meant immigrants. And why did they think that's a good thing, too?
Yeah.
That I'm going to use the military to deport immigrants and put them in camps. Why did he think if you say that, everything's okay?
That's the best
I
he
mean,
had. And, I think Jake Tapper and some of these other media people see what's coming and they're trying to redeem themselves. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying it.
oh no, I mean, they're done. I mean, the mass media is going to pay the price in the end. Look, if the mass media wants to go back to what they used to be, basically telling stories and doing investigative journalism, I'm fine with it. It's when they decided to turn it into when Crossfire came out
Right.
because Fox News was the new thing, and CNN came over to Crossfire. That's when it started to roll downhill
Right.
because then every show became fucking Crossfire. I mean, political girl Lee McGowan, who you admire and I
I do.
like, but all her content now is her being on these CNN roundtables. No, those CNN roundtables are disgusting. You know why? Because you got some MAGA fuck in there talking stuff that we know is a lie, and you're there debunking the lie. But no,
Well,
I don't need to see that. It's just dumb. There's no both sides.
no, I'm watching Political Girl on there, and she's very smart and very articulate and very good. I don't like seeing her that much on CNN. I mean, I know
No.
you got younger people and they're trying to look for their careers. I mean, when I do what I'm doing here and what you're doing, I'm not looking to build a career. If CNN called me tomorrow and said, I want you on the show, I go, no, I don't like you motherfuckers. I don't need the exposure and I don't need a bigger audience. I'll just do what I'm doing. But I understand why she goes on there, but I wish she wouldn't keep going on there. Maybe one time, maybe twice, but not all the time.
Yeah,
It's
it's
tiring.
it's constant. I mean, it's the same thing because you can't fix stupid.
Well, do you
It's
understand
a
what the media is trying to do? They're trying to legitimize themselves by taking
yes.
people from TikTok and putting them on there because they understand that people are coming to TikTok and the internet for credible information. So they think if they can bring somebody from TikTok on there that's popular, that they might get some of that
Then
credibility
let her
because they're desperate.
give her a 5 minute segment to say her spiel. Fine.
Yeah.
Don't put her on a goddamn round table with MAGA pukes who just get a chance to spout their lies
Yeah. And you can't
because we
beat them
know
because they
it's
don't listen.
lying. No, they don't listen. And I listened. I saw so I do 30 seconds of it and it just makes me itch.
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore. It's enough. I mean, it was bad enough to watch Fox News with Kamala Harris. Thank God she's sharp.
Yeah.
Brett Baer is still picking out needles from his ass.
Boy, that didn't go
And
well for him, did it? I think he's
ah,
sorry he did that fucking interview, especially the way he did it.
well, he's sorry he did it because he got caught. He's not saying he's sorry. And Fox
No,
News, and I will say this, going back to we're talking about the Honor Palmer and Latrobe rally. I don't think they would have cut to Kamala Harris if she hadn't done that interview because someone decided she's more entertaining than Donald Trump. And
ratings
we
were pretty
saw
good on
that.
Fox with Kamala Harris on it.
Oh yeah, 4 million more than him.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Again,
I
Fox
enjoyed
wants to
that.
make money. They want ratings. So if Kamala Harris is bringing ratings, she's going to be the new Fox poster girl.
But think of it this way with Fox. If Kamala Harris does become president, when she becomes president, and there's a blue house, Fox ratings will go up because they'll just be 24/7 complaining and bitching. So
Yeah.
like they used to. That's their best ratings.
Or
Do
they
you not think?
adjust or they
Oh,
adjust
man.
like the Republican Party does. Maybe they go more normal because
No,
Rupert's almost dead and one of his kids is going to take over. Who knows?
no, that would be I would be that happens then I'm going to become a meth user because there's no way. that's going to happen. There's no way.
Yeah.
Fox News is going to be Fox News, and it's going to find a way to warp it to what they were before. They have a plan because they know the
Yeah.
writings in the well. You can't tell me there's no corporate plan to survive this.
Unless
Um,
Smartmatic gets them to pay $2.5 billion, they may have to make some other plans.
yeah, they better settle that. That's for sure.
Smartmatic said they aren't settling it. They want the shit to come out in court.
Let the fun begin.
Yeah,
Court's going to be next year is just going to be court drama after court drama after court drama.
it is. And
Amazing.
that's why when people say, what are you going to talk about? Oh, there'll be plenty to fucking talk
Oh
about.
God, yes.
There's no
Oh God,
question
yes.
about that at all. I tell you what, Will, we're going to wrap things up for
Mm-hmm.
yet another Rational Boomer podcast. Hey, I want to thank you for coming by.
Right.
Just a heads up, if you didn't get enough of Will today, I believe he'll be on Sunday, Saturday or
Yeah.
Sunday. So be sure to look out for that. And we'll be talking
And
about some other shit. I'll be on the road someplace, so I'm
yeah,
trying to get ahead here, and we're doing
he's going to have good Mexican food in Los Angeles. Again, you
definitely.
can find me at Rational Boomer. I'm sorry,
No,
Rational
no.
Boomer. Binder 38 US at TikTok and on YouTube. I also opened up an email separate so you guys can't spam me on my normal email at Binder 38 US at Outlook.com. Questions, comments, threats, I'll block you. You can send them. I'm good. But yeah, Mike, it's been fun. And I look forward to going in again.
All right, sounds good. For those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.